And Dr. Gcina Mhlophe, renowned and respected poet, author and storyteller, joins us. Good evening and welcome, Dr. Mhlophe. In memorializing our icons, for me it's a privilege to speak to one, so an extra special welcome to you tonight. Dr. Magubane documented the South African story and all its central players with a poignancy and an eye that spoke volumes, because you just have to look at the series, for example, on Mama Winnie Madikizela Mandela standing at the fence of a Brandford house or through prison bars or with her children to understand that. How would you describe his gift? Dr. Mhlophe, you're on mute, unfortunately.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Dr. Magubane was a giant indeed, and an icon that we must respect forever. And his level of storytelling was of international standard. He told stories so that people around the world would not be saying they didn't know what happened in South Africa. He made sure that they found those images, and sometimes at a great cost, because one time the police beat him and they broke his nose. He said, "They didn't break my spirit." They chased him and he had to run. He was arrested. He was in solitary confinement. But he said, "I'm staying." Even when people thought he needed to go to exile, he said, "I'm fighting here inside the country." So Dr. Magubane was just somebody that I respected so much. And one of the things that you find about amazing people like him is that he's got no time showing off that I've done this and I've done that. He just let his work speak. Awesome.
Yeah, I've had the privilege as a journalist to interact with him a few times and to interview him and talk to him. And what you say is so true. Somebody who resided in the centrality of his work. He let his work speak for him. What an amazing, amazing talent. We know that his
Absolutely.
work, Dr. Mhlophe, informs the archive of our struggle, the moments during and after, a visual repository of emotions and milestones for the country. In your view, how should it be memorialized and made even more accessible?
I think the fact that Dr. Magubane did not only record what was overtly political, he also recorded the heritage side of things, like different homesteads where people built homes in the African architectural way that we should go back to, by the way. I think he must be remembered as somebody who was not only humble, but somebody who expected the very best of himself and says to us, let's do the same. Let's make sure that we are doing our part. He fought with his traditional weapon, the camera. What have you got to use to make a difference in South Africa today? Because the struggle is never over. And let's remember him, but not just remember him, repeat his name. Let's make sure that we also do our part, because where the spear has fallen, somebody must pick it up. Young and old, it's a clarion call to all of us.
That's so beautiful and profound the way you put that, you know, his camera was his traditional weapon. We have to use the gifts at our disposal to deploy them, you know, in service of our country and the bigger cause. You were also at the memorial service of another legend, Dr. Ngwenya, who passed away tragically. I was listening to Ambassador Sbu Ndebele describe the loss of him, that a library has been burnt down, is the way that he described it. And that's, again, just such a potent recollection of somebody who certainly stood tall in the art and culture community here in South Africa, but not just in South Africa, beyond our borders as well. What did you think of that send-off, and what are your thoughts on his legacy?
I think of three things as I was sitting there in the audience. One of them is the Market Theatre. Many of us benefited so much by being at the Market Theatre that allowed people of all races, of different cultures, to work together. The first time I met him, Mongeni, he was rehearsing Woza Albert. And at the Market Theatre, it was a melting pot of creative spirits embracing one another. Number two, I thought, as I sat there, I thought, nobody mentions Barney Simon. Hello. he groomed so many people. So now and again, we should find ways of bringing the people that were part. If somebody talked about me in future and forgot a mentor like Barney Simon or the Market Theatre, I'll think, what happened? What's happening with the people? And so the last thing is that when he went to bury another amazing woman, Paris, he wasn't just driving for a jolt. He went to pay his respects to an amazing woman who worked with the children in exile, well, on Broadway. She was a production director. She did so much, that woman, Mam Paris. And so I wished that today somebody could have mentioned that Dr. Ngwenya passed away having paid his respect. And his last performance was at that funeral. So I think sometimes we need to just round up stories in a particular way, but I was awed by the way they did a tapestry of the different productions that he had done. And we salute all of these people that have passed. Sikhuluma ngoZahara, sikhuluma ngoSisindwe Mdunyelwa, sikhuluma ngo KC from Mhlophe wenene FM and Mbongeni Ngema, and now we're saying goodbye to the great Peter Magubane, an amazing man. Sithi Magubane onkomose, sithi Didiza, umzilankati, rest in peace. Your contribution will never be forgotten.
I think that's the appropriate point at which to end. That was beautiful, that tribute that you paid. And also, as you point out, it's important to remember the community that make us who we are and to remember them in the celebration and send-off of our legends. Thank you for your time tonight, and I hope that we get the opportunity to speak in other circumstances and not only in a circumstance of send-offs and loss. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Gcina Mhlophe, who is our own respected and renowned poet, author, and storyteller.